All right, welcome back. So today I have Noel.
Hi, I'm Noel. I'm double feminine, FeSe, play, blast, consume, sleep, social type 4.
Awesome. So this is very interesting because she's lead FE, which is extremely hard to find in the wild.
Yes.
So
There's not many of us. There's only one of me, my specific 512 type and social type currently in the community. I believe I'm the only one. And I'm only the second woman of this general type, FeSe.
wow,
Me and Jana Lee, and that's it. We're alone. We've got to fight
wow,
everybody.
that's really tough. I mean, it just sounds hard to navigate.
It can be
Um,
lonely. It can be a little bit lonely.
I mean, which is interesting because being lead FE, like I don't think of loneliness with that, but you feel like that, right? Or
I feel like that because I have always noticed, and it was actually, I said this in my typing video as well. I always felt like I never focused on the same things as everybody around me, and I never drew the same conclusions. And I just always seemed to be going down a different path than everybody else and being confused by that. I'm like, why can't you see the path that I'm on? And I can't seem to see the path that you're on. How is this happening
yeah,
when we're taking in the
interesting.
same information?
That is so interesting because I mean, being EJ, it's FE, and number four. It's like, why are you not like on everybody else's path?
Yeah, I think you know, following this same metaphor, I think I have to I've always just tried to jump over to their path and be with them. And that's kind of where that social 4 comes in. You got to go with the tribe,
Hmm.
keep the friends happy, especially with the FE as well. Like, you know, so, but I've got that masculine TI too. That's like, I can still see the path. Get back over there. What are you doing?
Hmm.
But I want to walk beside people.
Interesting. All right. Okay. Well, um, first thing I really want to ask is, um, do you feel like, okay, this is kind of not your type yet, but do you feel like your life path has kind of been congruent with your type?
I think so. Yeah. I think it has in the way that, especially with the social type, I think this is a social type 4 thing where things just kind of happen for us. It's like we accidentally find success. It kind of sneaks up upon us. And it's through the relationships that we make it as far as we do. And I
Hmm.
think that's very true of me. I've always been taken care of in some way in my life. And the opportunities that have been presented to me have been because of relationships that I've fostered. They were presented to me by others.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. That ties very well into Lida Fee.
Yes.
Um, so do you see let me ask this a better way. Okay. With Lida Fee, how does that process like actually happen? Like
The lead
how
FE.
yeah, like how does that end up becoming like the way that you navigate things?
If you mean developmentally, I'm pretty sure FE is just one, it's a conglomerate of trauma responses,
Hmm.
to be honest with you. At least for me, I grew up in a family that had a lot of explosive personalities, and I had a mother who kind of went back and forth with depression as well. So she was the first person I emotionally managed, and then from there, managing the emotions of the other people in my family to make sure those explosions didn't happen, to avoid those explosions. And it was like, you know, it was like those experiences were reinforcing this type structure of like, this is
Hmm.
definitely what you have to do. This keeps working. Keep doing this.
Hmm.
but then you end up emotionally managing people who don't need to be emotionally managed, and you don't allow them to be humans and have their own emotions.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm. So, okay, sorry, I got a message. So is there hmm, interesting. So there's like this theme about like emotional management, and I kind of want to like pick into that a little bit.
Mhm.
So, um, what does emotional management um, mean and look like to you?
It mostly means keeping everybody happy or at least content. So it's a lot of entertaining. It's making people laugh. I make people laugh. Um, and it's also a lot of, if I sense, like, what's the word I'm looking for? If I sense fights coming on, if I sense feuds coming on, either between me and the person I'm talking to, or even two people who are talking to each other, I'm not even part of the conversation. It's this urge to immediately get in there, mediate, smooth over, keep everybody level-headed, make sure everybody feels validated in their opinion. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong, so we can all walk away from this peacefully.
Interesting. Okay. So what does level-headed mean to you? That kind of stuck out to me with my quadra language.
Specifically anger. I think I try and avoid anybody really getting to that intense, fiery. What I have, there's a lot of anger stored in that masculine TI, right? So I think that's partially that's me projecting my type onto everybody else, because we always think everybody thinks the same way we do on some level, right? Until we're aware that that's not the case. But yeah, just trying to keep people from getting really, really angry, keeping people from feeling offended. Um, I not so much sadness, or kind of sadness. Yeah, I don't know. It's just keeping people away from those negative emotions, those negative areas, while hopefully making sure they still feel heard. Like, I'm not dismissing them, but as a DE, I think we can often miss that mark. Like, we think we're being considerate, but we're not actually being considerate because we're assuming what you need.
Hmm. Because this is actually extremely interesting to me. Hmm.
I had to learn in therapy and also watching the movie Inside Out by Pixar that all emotions are necessary.
Hmm. Interesting. That is very interesting. All emotions are necessary.
Yes.
Okay. So for your type, what would that look like? Like in terms of like psychologically, like what is your type actually looking at when you say those words? Like everything is emotionally necessary.
I'm not. I'm not really sure. It's just kind of something that I feel.
Hmm.
What am I looking at when I say the words "all emotions are necessary"? Um, I'm mostly thinking about what I what I've learned, through the things that made sense to me. It made sense to me when my therapist said it. The way that Pixar presented it made sense to me, and that stuck. And so sometimes, often I can hear something said one way and not really get it, and I just need to hear it said a slightly different way, and then it really sticks with me.
Hmm.
And I think that was a message that really, really stuck with me.
Hmm.
Because I mean, too, if I'm never allowing people to explore those negative emotions, they're not actually working through those negative emotions and actually dealing with it. So it's just pacifying until the next time you feel sad again, so you didn't deal with it, I just smoothed right over it. Or I didn't deal with it. I just moved right over it.
It almost seems like to me that there is this necessity to allowing emotions to be expressed.
Yeah.
Um, so for you, like through the ENFJ perspective, what is what does that do?
Outwardly express emotions.
Yeah, like when people
Yeah.
express their emotions, what does that cause?
I'm not sure. um, I'm not really sure. I've kind of had to learn to just sit with people through that and to kind of like not try and move it. Just let them work through it. Sometimes you just need a really good cry, you know? Sometimes you just need to really get it out. And this is something that it's funny because as feminine FE, that's what we're doing. And it's funny that I have to do that and yet I don't allow other people to do that.
Hmm.
Because I also don't notice that I'm doing it because it's feminine. It's forgettable. I don't notice that that's what I'm doing. That I need to express that out loud. I need to have that good cry. I need to get really, really angry and really bitchy and just say the most rancid things just to get that out of the way. It's like I'm a bull and I'm seeing red right now. And until I work through that red emotion, I can't get to that TI rationalizing and reasoning. I got to work through that first. And now I can be level headed, like truly level headed and reasonable.
Hmm.
And yet
Interesting.
at the
That
same
no.
time, I deny other people being able to do that because I'm trying to smooth it over.
Hmm. Interesting. So this reminds me a lot of like environments. Like obviously the clouds need to rain at some point.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
stuff like that. Like it
or it
reminds
just
me
gets
a
heavier.
lot. Yeah. Like it's almost like the FE is kind of like making sure that the environment within the person is functioning. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. I can see that. Yeah,
Hmm.
not sure.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
trying to make
All
every
right.
day funny.
Every day sunny. Kind of rhymes with funny.
Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. All right. Well, yeah, obviously I'm trying to like process it through like NF sleep. Like I'm trying to like see I'm trying to understand you. Like I'm trying to
Me too, my guy. Me too. That's why I'm here. Like the fuck is going on here? What is happening?
it's just so interesting to me because I am also SF, but like I am consume sleep play blast.
Yes.
So there's a very different um what would be the word? Like it almost feels like we are using the same tools or ingredients or materials and we're building something different.
Yeah, I think we're getting all the ingredients from the same market, but we're making something different in the end.
Just like that. And like I'm trying to see like, okay, this is interesting. Like this is DE. Like very, very DE and I'm trying to see like how does that work? Because I have TE, so like that's kind of how I that's what I do with the extroverted. I try to like see how it works,
Mhm.
rather than like I mean I'm still trying to piece together FE. So I would think what FE's doing is like seeing what point in the feeling cycle things outside are in.
So I think most of Effie is just outwardly expressing those emotions, just kind of doing little emotional check-ins with you, giggling, letting you know that I'm still in a good mood, trying to see if pinging with you, trying to see if you're still in a good mood, if my joke landed correctly. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the majority of what Effie is doing, and then um, we can also see the TE in the way of these are the things that the tribe needs done, right? But I feel, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Damn it, the English language always fails me. I need to learn Spanish. God damn it. Um, I feel insecure about my ability to do because the TI is a baby. So I look at the spectrum of things that need to be done. I know it's going to take me forever to figure out how to do it and get it done. So it's like the FE is just easier to do. I'll just make them laugh, and maybe they won't notice that I'm taking 6 hours to do a job that probably would take them 20 minutes. I don't know.
Very interesting because like I I'm trying to see like the exact split
Hmm.
in difference because like to some extent like I relate to trying to make people laugh, but I'm like, okay, well, how is it that like SCFI tries to make people laugh versus when FE is trying to make people laugh? Like what is like
Yeah. Are you maybe
yeah.
saying things that you know make you laugh and just kind of like hope it lands right with the tribe?
Um I
Or is
look
that?
at examples of when people laughed and I look at the logic that caused that those people to laugh at that moment,
Hmm.
and that's what I register as like it's kind of like the barcode of the joke.
Yeah.
Is yeah, and I just kind of like input it as I go, um, and I'm like, okay, so how is that different from Effie?
I'm not sure how that would be different. I feel like I'm kind of doing the same thing. I'm picking up on the things in the environment just out there on TikTok mostly, that I know make people laugh, you know? I think also in the moment too, as I'm talking, I'm paying attention to your tone and I'm paying attention to your body language and I'm somewhat paying attention to your facial features. I'm actually not very good. I have ADHD, so eye contact is really hard for me. So facial features are difficult for me to pinpoint. But yeah, your tone and your body language, and if I can sense if a topic is veering into an area that is uncomfortable for you, I'm going to steer away from that. And if I'm on a topic that I can tell that you are comfortable with, then I'm going to keep going with
Hmm. That's where it's like, okay, well, we're the same.
that.
With the and I'm
I think
just
in a
kind
lot
of
of
like,
ways we're
okay,
all
well,
pretty much the same. I mean, we're all, we're all humans.
yeah, and I mean at the end of the day, we're both SF and then NF and then ST and T,
Yeah.
so
I think
it's
I might blur the
probably more
lines too with
similar.
the feminine FE and the masculine DI. And I think you blur that same line because your savior is feminine and then your demon is masculine. I don't know. So we kind of end up in the same blurry area where we are technically doing different things, but it can look the same.
Yeah, it's enough that like I guess we feel like cousins.
Yeah, I would say we're
Yeah.
cousins. I would say we're SF cousins. Hell yeah.
Interesting.
We were grown in the same pumpkin patch.
Very interesting. Okay. I almost feel like my NI is denying that we've understood that. I have
My
NI
NI does the
4.
same thing. It's like, no, it's got to be different. I'm like, no, but it does it though.
Because I was expecting it to be different.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
definitely. And I did that with the Enneagram too. When I mistyped for the longest time as a nine, I was looking at everybody else and I was like, okay, we're not the same, so you can't be a nine like I am because we're not the same, and you're slightly different from me, so you must also not be a nine, and then I got typed as a six, and I look around and I'm like, oh, we're all sixes. Oh, we're all fucking sixes. Got it.
Interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, we all have the same parts. You would have to be just so drastically different
Yeah.
to really see a difference because there's the same parts. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of move on to your Savior SE.
Okay.
Um, and we both have Savior SE, so
Yes. So,
um,
funnily enough, usually the trend is people can see their middle functions, but they can't see their pole functions. I feel like I could see my pole function. That's why I was having such a hard time when I was being peer typed as TE. I'm like, that doesn't fit. I
hmm,
can see the FI a little bit, but with especially feminine FI, I felt like I was fitting that because I had these crazy emotions that switched all the time, which is feminine FE. We're just sliding from one emotion to another, not getting stuck in one. But my middle functions, the observers, I spun my wheels on, and I still kind of spin my wheels on seeing it. I have to be very conscious about like, how am I doing SE right now? Oh, okay, that's how I'm doing SE. Because with the masculine NI and it being a demon, like our masculine demons are supposed to be threatening. I feel like I'm paying so much more attention to the NI because that's the threat. The SE is not a threat. The SE is just
Interesting.
kind of like there. It's, it's so forgettable. It's so non-threatening. I'm running into shit because I didn't see it there.
Interesting.
And I'm also massively time blind.
Hmm. All right. I'm so sorry. Forgive me for my sleep second. Um,
That's okay.
I have like a little lag time in between. Um, what I'm kind of seeing is like with the FE, there is a um, okay, interesting. Okay, I could be wrong, but I feel like with your SF play and versus my SF consume.
Mhm.
We're doing a similar thing. Like we're both in the like competition or arena of SF, same exact temperament. But like with the SF play, there's more of a like like you are registering who is being played with a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah, I can
But
see that.
versus me, I tend to actually kind of use the same humor no matter who it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a little
That
bit
makes sense.
more. So I tend to like kind of like throw my best joke that, but I would kind of use that with anybody.
Mhm.
It's not as much like I'm looking at like the shadow that is cast on the field of the SF in general
Mhm.
and kind of using a joke that would kind of like pass over exactly on that shadow, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Kind of,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm kind of like a like a general like if I hit here and here and here, that's gonna be funny. But that may not be the most funny thing for your exact shadow,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
I kind of adapt to whatever group that I'm with.
So
Um,
you end up more targeted than I am.
I think so. Yeah. I would probably say so. So like, double feminine SF is described as sexually movable. I like to call it social chameleon. When it's FESE specifically, it's social chameleon. It's I'm matching your energy and I'm adjusting my behavior to the situation, to the people who I am with. Almost every group of people have a different culture of their own. Like you can't, or I can't speak to an older person the same way I would speak to a younger person. I wouldn't speak to a boomer the same way I would speak to somebody who's Gen Z. Completely different senses of humor that are going to hit
Interesting.
totally different.
Well, I sense that too, but I feel like there's less of okay, so like for example, if I'm talking to I'm just gonna use boomer as the example. Like if I talk to a boomer, it may be a little bit more like whenever I talk to a boomer, I have this box that I'll use.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I'm guessing I could be still wrong, but like maybe for you, it's like when you talk to a boomer, then you think about the specific person and you gather from the specific person that is a boomer and you have like a box for that. Is
Oh
that
yeah, it's almost like I'm pulling multiple boxes off the shelf, right? So here's the boomer box. Okay, now this boomer box has this temperament, so we're going to take off this temperament off the shelf. We're going to use that box too. We're going to pull from that box as well. And okay, this person's a man. We're going to pull off, that box, and we're going to pull from the multiple specific boxes that make up this very specific person, this individual. and I'm gonna mix and I'm gonna mix and match, and I'm gonna see, until something lands.
Do you want a very specific message to give to that person, um, that they want to hear? Like, is that what it is? Like, you kind of pull from like what their ear wants, if that makes sense.
Kind of, or I specifically scoot around topics that I know won't land right with them. Because I still have my opinions, and I feel very firm about my opinions. I'm not willing to share
Okay.
those opinions with people who I can sense don't share that opinion. So I'm going to scoot right around it. And I may play just the agreeable game, which I hate. I see myself doing it, and I was like, "You rancid fake bitch," but I hate it. I hate what I do. But yeah, so um, it's just something I noticed early on is that people, especially if they starting to get more and more disgruntled, right? Everybody loves being told that they're right. Everybody loves being agreed with. So,
Interesting.
and I may
Okay.
not 100% agree with them, but I'll say things like, I can see where you're coming from. I can see where you get that. I'm
All right.
specifically avoiding saying, that's stupid. That opinion is stupid. You're stupid. Like, I'm not saying that.
So this may be a strange connection. I apologize, everybody watching, if this connection is way too weird. But what I'm kind of picking up on from this is that with the FeSe version of SF, there's more of a focus on like the other person's ear.
Hmm.
But with SCFI, it's like I want the other person to see what I think will affect you the hardest
Mm,
when you see this thing,
okay.
based on me verifying that when I saw this thing, it caused the biggest reaction. So it's much more like I like went through the experiment myself, seeing that this thing causes a big reaction, and I'm under the belief that this thing causes such a big reaction,
Hmm.
and I want you to see the same exact thing and see if you get the same reaction.
Got you. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. I think it kind of sounds like, you're I don't know, like you're the center point and you're trying to see who fits in the circle. And I'm trying to fit everybody in the circle. I am the circle.
And I have like a misbelief that other people are asking to be put in a very, very good circle.
Mhm. Yes,
But
I
maybe
can see
that's
that.
not even, maybe from the FE standpoint, that's not the question people are asking or asking for. Hmm.
Not sure. Yeah,
Does that
kind of
make
like
sense?
kind of. I'm also a little buzzed right now, so I was like trying to follow, but my brain was like, "Ooh, circles." My brain was like, "And here's a snowman, and here's two eyes," and I'm like, "Stop it!" My brain has a mind of its
Okay.
own. Um, but yeah, it does sound like, yeah, like you are the circle, and you're trying to see who fits in that circle. In me, I'm more like a boundless. I'm a movable boundary. It's fine if you don't fit in the circle because I'm going to move the circle to fit around you. I'll just move the boundary.
So interesting. I am so sorry. Like I am so fascinated by this. Like I hope people know that. I always sometimes wonder what they wonder from me.
It's a weird
um,
function. It doesn't seem to land well in the community in general, and then sometimes it does, and I'm very confused. I'm like, do you like us or do you hate us? I don't know what because like my entire fucking MO is to be likable, so this is hard.
oh my God. Okay, this is so interesting because like we're both SF. We both have SE,
Mhm.
and we're the same exact temperament order. It's just you're EJ, lead play, and I'm lead consume and observer.
Yeah.
So it's like pretty close, but like I wouldn't say we're as far as we could be for being as close as we are,
Mm,
because you could be elite sleep instead of play, and play is closer to consume than sleep is.
yeah,
Well, it would
I
be.
would
I
say
think
sleep is
S.
closer to consume.
I think blast. Yeah, if you really blast as SF, that would be even more opposite.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, for sure.
Interesting.
It
Okay.
actually would be.
Anyways, there's not the point here. Anyways, so let's see. Okay, let's kind of move into your blast.
Okay.
So with your blast, how does that differ from when you're using FE play?
When I'm using the blast, I'm very much guiding people. You know, it's like the play is, like I said, the play is trying to move the boundary around people so that they fit in the circle, right? Sometimes people still don't quite fit in the circle. So the blast is kind of like, all right, just like scoot a little to the left. We're just going to try and get you a little bit closer. Okay, now we fit. Now we fit. But it's also, that is the mediating part. That's where the mediation comes in. Is trying to control that vibe. So we're going to try and mediate these feelings so nobody feels pushed on, nobody has those negative emotions, and we're just going to keep everything calm. I've also been playing with the idea too that NF blast, because this is something I do too. It's like it. So the writing that you had sent that I had read, the blurb where you kind of told a story, you like created the simulation. That struck me as very NF blast because that's kind of how I'm understanding NF blast, where it's like I'm going to pull you into this simulation so you feel what this experience is like, so I can get your emotions to that place. You know, I'm going to try and move your emotions by creating a simulation for you.
Interesting.
It's also how I learn as well, simulated in my head.
Okay. So I'm trying to see this. This one I want to see visually. So like, is it kind of like the phases of the moon? Like you're trying to push someone through all the phases of the moon to get them here, like a specific place.
Yeah, I think like to that, yeah, to that TI logic. I think I'm trying to move people to be like, do you see my logic now? Do you understand how this tower is stacked? Um, yeah,
Hmm.
because like I'm trying to think of a specific example. Um, but you know, somebody will be talking about some hot button topic, and I'll be like, okay, but if you are in this situation, put yourself in this situation. Here are these, you know, here are these barriers that you have to deal with, and you're terrified. And all you can think of is keeping yourself safe and keeping your family safe. Like I'm trying to get you to that emotional space by by forcing you to simulate this. You know what I'm saying? So that you can see why this doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Why what you're saying doesn't make any fucking sense.
Interesting. But okay, but you're going there emotionally
I'm moving their emotions. The emotions are external.
to
I'm
see
trying to
that they
appeal
don't,
to the
that something
emotion
doesn't
to
make
get you to
sense.
the logic.
Oh wait, interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so from having a specific emotional understanding, we're able to then acknowledge certain types of logic
Mm.
that we were blocked to before in a different emotional state.
Yes.
And then that's how you get them to get on board with your TI.
Yes. Yes.
Interesting. Oh,
Which
wow.
my TI could be wrong, and that's the risk you always run. It's like I've now steered you to the wrong conclusion. Shit.
So, why, from your perspective as an ENFJ,
Mhm.
why is it that emotional states cause people to be blocked to or unblocked
Mm.
to seeing specific logics?
Because the SF is the animal mind. At the end of the day, no matter how logical you think you are, if you are a human being, you are an emotional creature. Emotions are so powerful.
Mm,
And I think even before my type knows this, we kind of subconsciously know it. That whatever people are saying, there's an emotion behind it. It's being emotion driven.
mm. I definitely see that too.
Yeah.
A lot of people deny it, but
Everybody's standing on an SF foundation, an SF base layer.
I feel like as an FI, you have to be kind of quiet about that. Like, no, no, do it through TE.
That's very
Try to
personal
get
to
them to
you.
see that through
Yeah.
TE instead of FI because I cannot push FI
Yeah.
on people. But interesting.
But it's funny because I kind of see everybody as FI, even though I'm not FI. Someone's
Hmm.
not at a base layer, somebody has their emotions and their values, and I've got to appeal to that. I got to find out what that is, which sounds very manipulative. I'm like saying this out loud. I'm like, wow, this is rancid. but
Happens
but
to
I
me
know
all
it's
the
there because
time.
again, we're all emotional creatures at the end of the day, and your logic is based on some sort of value or what you deem as important. So if I can tell that you're like a family man, or if I can tell, like, I don't know.
It reminds me of like, based on what you value, you're willing to fight for certain things, and based on what you try to fight for, you build logic to, to as fighting.
Yeah. So I read this book. It's called Everything is Fucked. It's a book about hope by Mark Manson. And it's such a good book. And one section of it talks about the thinking brain versus the feeling brain. And everybody thinks their thinking brain is in the driver's seat. Everybody thinks so, but it's your feeling brain. Your feeling brain is in the driver's seat. And the thing about your feeling brain, it is very convincing and it's able to convince your thinking brain that no, 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 this was your idea because this is logically sound. And so your thinking brain will make it make sense to wrap around the feeling.
Hmm.
And I think the TIs might be the furthest from this, but they do still have that feeling of base. It's a very interesting book. I probably butchered the description. Oh, he went away. Oh, no, he didn't. Whoa.
That's
That would have
okay.
been so cool if you came back in a different costume. Like, haha.
Wait. What happened? Okay, wait. No, it's the laptop is how I keep the light on.
Oh, got you.
I can hear you. Keep going.
Can you hear my cat snoring in the background?
No.
Okay, good. She's a loud snorer. She's like, oh, I don't know where she is. She's right there.
But something I was gonna say was that like I am so fascinated that an FE
Mhm.
is saying that
Yeah, it's
because
logical.
like it feels to me that you've been stalking the FIs.
Maybe. Oh no. It just keeps getting worse. Am I
And I'm
umbrage?
like,
Oh no.
for me, it's like you're saying something that is so deep for even an FI person that it's like, how did you, like, you were just FE 2 seconds ago, but now you're like the deepest FI?
Well, now
Like,
I'm
how
sharing
does,
my TI with you, so
okay.
it
So
just
that
makes
came from
logical sense.
TI.
What's that?
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
that came from TI.
Yes. These are the things that make sense to me. That people are emotion driven. I can compare that to what I've experienced. Yes, that tracks. That makes sense. I've seen people be emotional deep down. I've seen the layer of cold hearted logic stripped away, and then there is feeling underneath.
Interesting. Because as an FI, like I get there from just knowing that I feel like that. Like it
Mm.
does feel like,
Yeah, you guys are a lot more direct. I feel like your type is just very like, yeah, we're SF. Like you're just so accepting of it. You're like, this is the natural state. That's you know what I mean? Like you just accept it. You don't try and fight against it.
I mean, like I I have a pretty strange relationship with my SF. I think because of my demon friends. Like my flex, I'm guessing. I don't know if this is like why or whatever, but like I think because I have masculine ST, my flex kind of like collaborates with the masculine ST to kind of flex ST.
Yeah, I can see that.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I kind of see myself as ST because I'm selling myself as ST and I have to believe it to
Yeah.
sell it. And so I kind of get confused. And then
I
like
feel that though. I feel that because
I
I do feel NT, and I am NT on the inside. It's NITI, right? But that masculine, that feels so overpowering. It commands all my attention. The SF
yes.
is so forgettable.
Hmm. So for me, it's like I forget that I have SF. Like I
Mhm.
forget that I'm lead SF. I do not. I absolutely do not see myself that way.
Yeah.
I see myself as more dry and objective. And like I'm just trying to understand.
See, and I see myself as very philosophical and trying to figure it out, trying to make the theory, trying to create this all encompassing theory to understand
Hmm.
everything, just to understand everything.
So then, do you see your SF as like a maybe like a laboratory to that helps you to do that masculine NT purpose?
Probably, yeah, a laboratory. I mostly see the mostly see the SF, and this is gonna sound horrible, but I mostly see the SF as a buffer to keep people away from that NT and to
Oh.
appease them so that maybe they'll go away so I can work on the NT more. Because the NT's
Hmm.
hard, it's demon. It takes a lot of time to work that shit out, you know. So
Hmm.
the SF is just appeasing the people around me, and um, but it's also getting along with people. Because, like I said too at the very beginning, I want to walk with people. I want to be part of the tribe. Um, something that I've been playing. Another thing that I've been playing with too. About I thought it was about FeSe specifically, because SF is the animal mind, and we're extroverting that, right? But then I spoke to a couple FE Annies and they do the same thing. So now I'm thinking it's just an FE thing where we observe human behavior as if we're observing animals. We're watching the silly little things and we're watching ourselves do it too. But we're watching all these funny little rituals and these funny little things that we do, like decorating our hair and decorating our bodies, and like a very specific thing that strikes me as this is okay. I live in New England, right? Snows every winter here. Always get snow. And yet the first snow, my newsfeed on Facebook is always flooded with pictures of snow and declarations that it snowed. And I'm like, it does every year. Why are we so excited about the snow that we see every single year and we know it's coming every single year? And I think that's one of the more adorable human behaviors. I think that's a really cute thing that we do. And then I post my own little picture of the snow because I want to be part of the cute little game, you
Hmm.
know? And it's just kind of silly and it makes me wonder. It makes me wonder why we do that. It reminds me of birds flying south for the winter. It's like that's just what you do during winter. That is our funny little ritual.
Hmm. It feels to me like you're almost describing the SF play as like ways that we delay our NT sleep, our inner NT sleep from coming out. And it's good because do you feel like the SF plays like a better reality than like your NT sleep?
Um, I actually don't consider myself realistic at all. So I actually consider myself highly unrealistic. Um, but I don't know. It does kind of tap me
Well,
back into that space of like, oh yeah, we are animals at the end of the day. Like we're
by
human and we have these specifically human functions and capabilities. We're one of the only creatures on this planet that is able to intuit. That's a very human thing altogether, intuition. Um, and
by
being able to
reality I
rationalize and
meant
reason.
like
But
by reality I meant like a more positive
oh,
thing.
oh no, I'm very cynical on the inside. I actually have a very negative outlook.
Hmm.
Yeah. Which is why I'm like, okay, we need some sunshine and rainbows in this bitch. Like, this is sad. There's no sunshine. I've got to be the sunshine.
which is so interesting. I mean, just kind of like throwing your Enneagram type in here for a second.
Yeah.
Being core six, wing seven, and then your other two fixes are positive. It's nine and
I know.
two.
Yep.
So that means that your adjacent, which is your wing,
Hmm.
uh, the wing of your core type with your other two fixes,
Yep.
is triple positive.
Yes.
So
But
it,
remember
it
that that core is reactive and
and
anxious.
the core is negative or reactive, um, or pointing out bad things, whereas like the adjacent is totally not negative. And
Yeah.
so it kind of seems like your FE is your adjacent. Like it's almost like a veneer,
Yeah.
for your actual core type.
Yeah. It's almost like the core type, the core is that double masculine NT sleep. And then everything else just kind of floats around it to protect it, maybe to cushion it, to buffer it.
And so like what you're addicted to is the adjacent instead of the core. So it's like interesting.
Yeah. Because I
Interesting.
mean, have such a cynical worldview. It does make it better if I can make myself laugh and make other people laugh and play. Like this is the part of life that makes all the, you know, dealing with the cynicism worth it. I think that that's another thing about SF as well. I think that fits in the SF temperament is where NT is cynical, SF is enjoying life.
Hmm. Hmm.
Or I should rather say can be. It can be cynical. SF can enjoy life. The capability lies in that temperament.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. So, what does it feel like would happen if that NT sleep was exposed to the outside world? Like if you kind of threw it like an airplane or a paper airplane,
Mhm.
where does it feel like? Like would it go or would it like immediately crash or like what would happen?
It would burst into flames mid-flight. That's what it feels like it would happen.
Hmm.
I think it would be very rejected. I, I,
Hmm.
I listen. I open conversations. I open relationships with. I'm a very mean person on the inside. I'm a very cynical person on the inside, and 100% of the time, 10 out of 10 times, the other person's like, "I don't believe that. No, you're too friendly." And I'm like, "Okay, you'll see." And it's always shocking when they see it for the first time.
Hmm. I mean, I can believe it. It would just be something that I would like. I feel like I would never see.
Yeah, maybe I try and keep it to very very key people. It even took me a while to show it to my therapist.
Hmm.
It's kind of like sharing your intrusive thoughts with people, you know? It's like if I share this intrusive thought with you, are you going to think I'm actually murderous or are you going to think I actually want to drive my car into the lake or that's the fear.
Hmm. I mean, I get intrusive thoughts sometimes, and
I get them often. I think it's the masculine NI. It's yeah.
hmm.
That bitch is mean.
Oh no, I definitely get like these like sometimes I question like what would happen if I said the wrong thing? Like what if I said this right now? Like
Yeah.
how upset would she be? Like
Yeah. And you
and
kind of
I'll
simulate
kind
it.
of actually see it, like the awkward um thing, the awkward vibe if I did that, and then I'll just kind of like I mean I don't like I try not to like I know there's no point in thinking that right now, like there's no point to do that,
Yeah.
but like I know that like you could imagine it.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
yes, I'm like guessing it's probably similar or maybe even more intense since it's like double masculine sleep and stuff like that.
Yeah. I will say though that the FESE being double feminine is just it's so fluid. I'm doing it without noticing that I'm even doing it. The social chameleon thing, the matching your energy, it's almost like it's not even really a deliberate thing.
Hmm.
The NT is very deliberate.
Hmm. I guess I do feel a little bit more deliberate with the SF, although I feel like the stuff that would come to mind on the SF is just kind of defaulting to what complements what's already there a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. If I've
yeah,
kind
and
of
just
steered the conversation into a topic where I feel safe enough to share that NT theory that I have, then I might hesitantly, yeah, I might share that a little bit more. Like, for example, we're talking about OPS right now. That's what this entire conversation's about. So I'm a little bit more willing to share those OPS theories that I have with you. If I was just speaking to a stranger that I don't know if they know what OPS is, I could be speaking Mandarin to them right now. I'm going to be a little bit more hesitant to not jump straight into, well, let me tell you something that I know about human beings. So OPS, you either have these functions or blah, 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 blah. you know? So it's very key to the situation.
let me kind of dive a little bit here and get to the TI a bit.
Okay.
Um, as you're building your TI, are you personally checking if you're right or wrong on your own time and stuff like that? And so, like, as you've built it really high, have you like completely verified the entire thing, or how does that work?
I think I have every intention to. I definitely like set intentions of like, okay, I got to look that up. All right, I got to see if that tracks. I got to look that up. And then sometimes I do passively, sometimes I completely forget to. Most of it just kind of stays a theory, though. I try and keep it like this is just a theory. This is my theory. Unproven, totally hypothetical. Um, and then in my random little researchings, because the consume is my hobby animal, so I do use it on my own time in my own way. I don't like being forced to use it, but one of my hobbies actually is to just Google shit, to just Google the most random shit and watch tons of YouTube videos on psychology and opinion pieces and all kinds of that stuff. And occasionally I will stumble upon something that um, supports that theory that I've built up. I'm like, oh, that tracks. And again, I find that and it's logged into the TI. I'm like, yep, I've seen that. That tracks. That's being logged. And that's kind of where
Hmm.
my memory is too.
Hmm.
I remember what makes sense.
Hmm. Interesting. Hmm. Is there a pattern to the things that you tend to use for building your TI? Like, does it tend to be a certain topic, or like is there like an attraction that your TI tends to cluster for?
Uh, yeah, psychology. I slept weird, so my neck is bothering me right now. Sorry, that's what all the twitching's about. my neck is like, hey, you remember me? Sorry. Yes, psychology. Psychology is a lot of what I kind of focus on, and psychology, and that kind of like veers into studying history, seeing historical patterns. Like, okay, here's a behavior that I've noticed, and is this a historical pattern? Like conspiracy theories, or not conspiracy theories so much, but like every generation seems to have their apocalypse. The apocalypse is coming. It's going to be 2012. That's the apocalypse. So Y2K, that's the apocalypse. That's actually a historical pattern. It's always been the coming of the apocalypse for human beings in some way or another. It's just kind of like the same idea recycled into a new, okay, but this one's it because it aligns with the Mayan. It's very SE kind of, if you think about it, because the SE wants everything to be new. And it's like, no, but this is a pattern. This isn't different. So I've noticed that. And then somehow I connect that to my studies of astronomy as well, like kind of seeing human behavior out there in the observable universe and seeing those parallels.
Hmm.
Like one thing I've come to kind of deduce is the one constant in, from the observable universe, the giant observable universe, right down to the most minute molecular level is chaos and violence. You get shit smashing into each other. You got shit like, burning balls of fire and black holes sucking everything up and spitting it back out. And it's a lot of chaos and it's a lot of violence. And so, why would humans be any different, really? We have the capability of being different, but that core is still there. We're still part of that cycle.
Hmm.
That's a weird one. I'm sorry. That's a weird
No,
theory.
it's great.
It's hard
Um,
for me to explain because it just makes sense to me.
Interesting. No, I'm just like, from my perspective as an ESFP, I'm like, okay, this TI sounds very, that's not what I thought TI was, I guess.
Did
It's
you
a
think it
little
was
hard.
drier? Oh, go
What
ahead.
I'm trying to say is that like it just doesn't sound like every time I look for I don't hear it. Like it
Mhm,
sounds like more like TE, I guess.
mhm.
Um, Not that it is TE, but just like I tend to type a little bit with voice, like changing the voice. Um, and it's like it's kind of your same voice when you use TI, if that makes sense. Like it's not like a different, like weird, like Darth Vader voice or anything.
I wonder if it sounds TE because it's the TI being filtered through the FE.
Could be.
Yeah,
Hmm.
trying to make that land with you so that you can, and hopefully in a way that you will value.
Interesting. When it does filter through FE voice, does it change? Is there like a percentage that it corrupts the TI that's behind it?
Yeah, I would say sometimes it's, I can see the TI just not landing. And so we're just going to like, make a hard left right into FE,
Interesting.
smooth it right over. That's what the FE does. It just smooths it right over.
Hmm. So it's kind of like if you're like aiming at a certain thing, if the FE gets in the way, you might aim like, okay, well, 20 degrees too low, that kind of thing.
Hmm, maybe if I'm just doing it by myself, no. But if I'm trying to convey that to somebody else, like as I was telling you that theory, if I had noticed maybe a grimace on your face, or if I had noticed maybe the silence was a little bit more awkward than it usually is, I might have just kind of trailed off, abandoned that theory. Not abandoned it, I still believe it, but abandoned communicating that theory and cracked a
Okay.
joke and moved into a neutral topic.
So you like move towards FE camp.
Hmm.
Okay, okay.
The FE is always the compass.
Interesting. Oh, okay. I can see it. I can see that.
The FE is also often the focus of the TI too, because when I'm trying to learn new things and make sense of things, I'm trying to make sense of it through the lens of human emotion. So one of my one of my weirder hobbies is researching tragedies, very specifically tragedies, the Titanic, 9/11, the Holocaust. And while I'm researching that, I'm not, when I say that, I know that people are thinking that I'm looking up like dates and times and like historical names and very specific SE facts, right? When I'm looking it up, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build a simulation in my head and put myself in that position. What would it be like if I was in one of the Twin Towers on 9/11? What would that feel like? What horrors would I have to face? What is that emotional depth? I want to know what that emotional depth is.
And that's very quick and easy for you, right?
Yeah, I would say I can really drag myself into it and make myself very depressed for a couple of days. That actually just recently happened. threw myself into a depression for a couple of days because I couldn't get out of a simulation. It just kept popping back up over and over again because that MNI is just relentless. Um, yeah.
Oh,
And then the way I get out of it is not the way you think. I overload the system by learning too much to the point where it's like, okay, now the TI has taken over. Like that's just how the world works. That's what happened. There is no rhyme or reason to it. That's why the post that I just posted in the FB group, TI equals bleak truths. That's what I meant by that.
interesting. Bleak truths.
Hmm.
Interesting. All right.
I'm so
Interesting.
fidgety. Is this FF? I've been told this is FF. Just the constant moving.
Yeah, double feminines and double masculines tend to be more movie. They move
Yeah.
more. Yeah, interesting.
Because I noticed you're very still, and I'm very not.
I'm pretty still, yeah. I'm just like in my sleep. I guess for me, it's some sleep saviors. Like I'm just kind of like really trying to. I feel like my responsibility is to get my mind to like touch exactly what you're talking about.
Wrap around it. I'm the exact same way. That's the exact same way for me.
So it could also be like our saviors have both SC and NI. Like we're
Mm.
really trying to like gather it and get there, and gather it and get there. Like,
Yes, exactly. Gather and conclude. Let's go. Especially when I have blast over consume. I'm like, get to it. Let's go.
all right, okay. Well, I can pretty much see the FE at this point. Like I see that your the job of FE is to really take in the perspectives of others, and that includes like emotional states, what phase in like general emotional cycles they're in,
Mm,
what information you can kind of guess about based on that cycle, and what interpretations are good to use based on that information you gathered about their cycle points that they're in,
yeah.
and how to like kind of either guide them using that information to either understand you better or to get them to understand something they need to understand. Um, so then when you get to consume sleep
Yes.
as your demons,
Yes.
um, how does that look?
So the ST consume, it definitely is a hobby. Um, like I said, like my hobby is actually researching things. My hobby is actually it's researching things and it's just Googling literally anything that pops into my brain. I'm like, I gotta Google that. I gotta Google that too. Sometimes I'll just Google random questions too to see what comes up. So I do that and, watching a lot of documentaries, watching a lot of just kind of like ST, this is how it works in reality, or like these are just truths that happen, no NF about it, really. Um, but if someone were to push me to do the ST consume, that would be very frustrating. Like read this manual to put this together. I'm like, yeah, shouldn't I just be able to intuitively know how to put it together? Like if I can't intuitively know how to put it together, it's just not built well. I
I
don't want to
relate
read
to
the
that.
manual. Yeah.
I hate reading.
Yeah.
I hate
I
reading.
love reading for fun. I love reading to learn things that I want to learn. But other than that, like I didn't realize that I actually liked to learn until after I graduated high school because I didn't like being told what to read. It was very like, don't tell me what to do. I feel like it's a TI thing. Don't tell me what to do. I do what I want to do because thinking is a doing function. It's an action function. Um,
It's very demon sleep, I guess, as well. Like your sleep
yeah,
is like you deciding what you're gonna, especially with TI do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's like the ST consume, and I definitely need to do definitely need to do it more because, like I said, I'm horribly unrealistic, and my reality function is the consume. That's the ST.
Would you say
Um,
that ENFJs of your exact like play, blast, consume, sleep would be better as like CEOs or business owners, stuff like that?
I think it totally depends on the social type, to be honest with you. But I think we're I was playing with the idea earlier that I think in ancient times, the role of my type would have been to be the guides, specifically for maybe younger minds, to be able to navigate. Because reality is like real reality is kind of harsh. It's kind of cruel. Nature's very cruel. There's a lot of death. And these are all things that are obviously very difficult to deal with. And so I feel like that might have been our role is to navigate people through that and then to show them why life is worth living, to kind of guide them because the NF is meaning and the SF is how you enjoy life, right? So guiding them to this is why you should carry on though.
Hmm, that is so interesting. It sounds so much like something I would say, but communicated differently. Um, this reminds me of like it feels like if you would grab the same exact story, um, or like let's say like there's a story of like I don't know if you saw the Lord of the Flies.
Yes,
You
oh my
read that
god.
book?
That book. What the fuck?
Imagine you just grabbed that book and then you told that book in different ways based on like how this story would be told from this character's perspective,
Yeah,
or this character's perspective, or that character's
it totally
perspective.
changes it.
It
Yeah,
feels like you and I witnessed the same book from two
perspective.
different perspectives, but it's the same book.
I feel like I'm kind of viewing it from a like a an above view, an overhead view,
Yes.
watching
I
them
was
all.
gonna say that. I was thinking that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can definitely see that. Yeah, that book was fucked up, man. But that is the reality. If you put people in a position like that, it makes me wonder. So, like, okay, I'm making a weird jump here. I apologize, but Chernobyl, all of the pets in Chernobyl were abandoned when they had to evacuate that city. And I guess it only takes so many days or weeks for cats and dogs to return to their feral states to leave their domestic behaviors and return to a feral behavior. And I wonder how long it takes humans that eventually we return to that feral state, that full SF survival mode, animalistic mind. And I feel like we're all capable of it.
I'm stuck there. Um, I almost feel like as a double masculine with lead SF, I'm kind of already there.
That's what I
But
mean. I feel like your type just embraces it. Like you just don't fuck around. And I feel like that's great.
at the same time, I'm like able to see civilization and blend into it.
Yeah.
Um, at the same time, it's like I'm not. I'm like literally 5 seconds away from what we just said, but also like 3 seconds away from blending in. It's so weird. Oh, there we go.
To return into your animal mind.
Yeah, it's like right there. I always feel the.
I, I feel like if you and I were like, shipwrecked on an island, if we were on Gilligan's Island, I feel like you'd be like the one that was like, let's just not fuck around, guys. We're not fucking around. We're feral now. Let's go. We got to do what we got to do. And I'd be like trying to just cling to the thin threads of civilization, just trying like maybe, but let's see if we can all get along though. And you'd be like, nope, this is fucking Sparta now.
I mean, I'm even like that a little bit in my classrooms as a teacher. Like, I'm a little bit pushy.
Hmm,
I'm very strict as a substitute, which you don't get often. Most of them are very not strict. But I'm strict because I don't know any other way to be.
yeah,
Um, I don't think that like I'm gonna be here just to watch a bunch of people be crazy. I'm gonna be here to like enforce order and just exactly what I'm supposed to be here for. Um, so, but it's interesting to me that like even for you with like your stacking and everything, you're able to see that people like me exist. I'll say it that way.
Yeah. Based on experience, just meeting a lot of different kinds of people and just kind of seeing that pattern of the ways that were the same and yet these subtle ways that were different. And that's what pulled me to typology to begin with. Like where are the differences coming from? I wonder. It's kind of the nature versus nurture debate as well. I don't know. Like that was one of the first things that I kind of clued into. It's, my brother and I have an older brother with the exact same childhood, right? With the exact same parents, the exact same experiences, and yet we took it such different ways. We're totally different people. And I think that was the very first thing that really made me wonder
Hmm.
that we had the same nurture, so it must be the nature.
Hmm. That's interesting. Do you have like a yes for like maybe some parts of his type?
My brother's type?
Yeah.
Um, I think I was like kind of playing around ENTP or ENFP. I do think he's an observer. I do think I think he has SI way at the bottom. Um, yeah, but I'm not really sure because actually I don't have very many memories of my brother growing up, even though he was always there. I don't have very many memories of him. Um, and aside from him bullying me and throwing spiders at me, um, and then he
That
went
always sticks.
Yeah, and then he went into the Marines when I was 18, and I remember being very sad, and he gave me a hug before he left, and I think that was like the first time in my life he ever hugged me.
Oh.
And then from there, I just kind of like see him sporadically. So getting a good read on my own brother's personality has been difficult. I think he's mope too. I feel like that might be a huge reason why I can't get a read on that because he's just so withdrawn.
Hmm. Interesting.
I got a read on his girlfriend though. She's ESFP. I love her. I think she's
Interesting.
Enneagram Type 7 ESFP.
Hmm. Interesting. All right. Let me look a little bit at the infodom side of you.
Okay.
Um, does that like manifest to like create like a pseudo TE vibe, would you say?
Maybe. I know it's the reason why I can't shut up. Of course, that's just the crackhead energy. It's you know, um, but I'm not sure. I have a hard time. I feel like I need to learn how to TE better. Like I want somebody to teach me how to TE because I feel like that if I could just get get through that anxiety and just start throwing shit at the wall and seeing what works, maybe I could actually like get things done.
Well, that's interesting because like a lot of people typed you as TE, I think, right?
Yeah, they did. Well, and Dave explained to me too in my audio that 90 to 95% of FEs and TEs, EJs, we sound exactly the same. Like we sound like we're doing all the same things. And again, I think it's largely because the FEs, we can see the spectrum of things that need to be done and we can see the spectrum of emotions and values. And because we have this little baby TI that doesn't know how to get the stuff done, we're like, we're just gonna spectrum of emotions it is then, I guess.
I wonder if that works the opposite way, where like FIs, FI demons can see the F, they just don't know how to cater to it, so they use TE to fix emotions.
I'm not sure. I know again in the audio, Dave had mentioned that the theory was that TEs couldn't see FEs as well as FEs could see TEs. And there's something about that emotional advantage that we have. And I think it's because, like I said, on some base level, even before we're aware of it, we are aware that everybody is emotional based. So we already have that foundation. I mean, I'm watching for the emotional spectrum, right? So I can see when people aren't tapping that emotional base or if they're resisting that emotional base. I can
Hmm.
see the voids.
Interesting. That's gonna take me a second because
That's
that's
okay.
huge. That is huge. Like just the idea that like both TE and FE can see each other, they just are more capable of responding to one versus the other,
Yeah.
and so that's what they use.
I can say of the people who did type me, I did get largely peer typed as T across the board, but a lot of them did express to me that they were a little bit confused. I think that's why I got typed as an observer. They assumed it must be in the middle because it seemed like I was switching between the two,
Hmm.
and also
Well,
because FE's pseudo double decide. That's the other thing.
I will say the way I experience you is like, um, you make perfect sense to me. Like
Good.
perfect sense. Sounds like TE to me. It makes perfect sense, but it also feels like it would be similar to if TE was a room, you painted the walls pink.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what it
I
would be.
absolutely would paint the walls pink too. That's reality.
That's how it feels. It's like it's the same room, but like it's just a little bit pink,
A little bit more
if that makes sense.
colorful.
Yeah, like you have like an emotional understanding that's not hidden. It's like it's just on the wall. Like it's just
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
It's funny because I used to say to people that this is what I felt like I was doing, uh, is that I will tell you what happened to me, but I won't tell you how I felt about it. But actually, I'm doing the opposite. I am telling you how I felt about it. I'm just not telling you why. I'm not telling you the reasons. I'm not telling you why I came to that conclusion.
Do you feel like as you were telling the person how you felt about that thing, because you can see TE,
Mhm.
are you kind of like landing it where it would make sense to that person based on the TE that you see
Yes,
without TEing it for them?
I think so. Yes, I think like I said, I think I'm trying to convey the TI, what makes sense to me, my logic through like filtering it through the FE in a way that I'm hoping you will value. And I think in that way it comes out TE, like I'm trying to explain it to you in a way that will make sense to you, but I'm trying to convey it in a way that will make sense to you emotionally.
So would you say that there's like an invisible TE? Um, I want to say it this way actually. So let's say your DE is a bus driver
Mhm.
and the map is actually built by a TE, but the driver is an FE.
Okay.
Would that
Yeah,
make sense?
I would say that because what I was gonna say too, but I didn't want to interrupt. I didn't want to interrupt you because I hate when I lose my own train of thought. That sucks. Um, but I can see. So if I'm looking at the spectrum of values, yes, I've always been able to see that TE is very valuable. That especially in my culture, in my family, I think my family is very TE centric of like just get it done and do what you need to do and leave your feelings at the fucking door. Like that was the messaging that I got from my own upbringing, right? So I can see that TE is valuable.
That's exactly how it feels in my body
Yeah.
when I'm doing TE. That's exactly how it feels, which is interesting. Like you're able to express exactly how the TE feels it. Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. it's like you have both. Like you have three functions. You have, well, four.
I
It
used
really feels like you have all four.
I used to joke that I feel like I because I got types all across the board. The only thing that people were sure of is definitely not save your sleep. Definitely not save your sleep. And I'm like, I agree with you. But yeah, I joked at one point that I'm just all of them. I'm just a conglomerate, you know? And then I played with the idea of like, maybe we're in a simulation. Maybe we're in my simulation and we got to cover up the fact.
Cover it up. Oh my god. Interesting. Effie cover it up.
Effie, cover it right, smooth it right over.
How
But yeah, I
interesting.
mean, I think that that's a huge part of it. I think that's a huge part of what Effie is doing. It's noticing what you're valuing, and so especially F, double feminine, the SF, the double feminine SF, being that social chameleon, right? I see what you are valuing, and I will adapt to that. So if I see you are valuing TE, I will be TE. If I see you're valuing NE, I will be NE.
It feels like you used to have feminine FI, and then that just get like flipped over onto the DE, and then the TE, like the T flipped into your DI.
Yeah, like you just put on
That's
like a
so
mask.
oh,
I feel like I that's another thing I joke about too. That's so funny that you say that. I feel like I'm an inside out Delta. That's what I feel like.
oh. No, I can see that. Hmm. Like if I gave my feminine FI a microphone, it would sound very similar to the things you say. It's like very, very similar. So interesting. Okay. All right.
From what I understand about feminine FI, it could be wrong, but it sounded like the descriptions were pointing to this idea that you have your personal values and you have your personal emotions, but because it's feminine, you're willing to move that around for people to a point, which is definitely what feminine FE is doing, moving them around.
It feels like if my emotions were you know how like when you cut your skin
Mhm.
and your skin is healing, like the cut is healing, it develops like pus and
Yeah,
it goes through all these transformations and stuff
turns yellow
before
and then purple and then yeah.
yeah, before it becomes scar tissue or skin or whatever you want to call it. It feels like with the feminine FI, I'm constantly in all the phases at the same time.
Oh, okay, got you.
So it's
Trying to come together, trying to
like
create that scar tissue, but then reopening and
I can open it back up and heal differently if I need to.
yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like it's very transforming. It can be anything.
Yeah, it's like I'm not necessarily fully healed. Like I can go back to being unhealed, and
Mm,
I'm already there. I'm at both. I'm at both at once. Like I don't need
yeah.
to like stay in any one stage.
But what about
That,
anger? Do you find that anger is that one emotion that you can't move or that you can't
um,
transform?
so I've talked about this before in other places. It's the same concept. It's a different topic, but um, so the way I kind of see this is like a thunder, a lightning bolt. So you know how like a lightning bolt has like branches.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like in that split second when I'm experiencing anger, before I even experience the anger, there was a window where there's like a lot of like memories and images and options passing through that window, and
Mhm.
I just stopped it at a certain point. Um, it's the same exact thing as like when that lightning bolt hits. Like if imagine you're the eye of your mind is looking at all the branches
Mhm.
passing through at the lightning bolt. Imagine you stopped, like you clicked the button and you stopped at a certain point as you were looking,
Mhm. Oh,
and
you
then
can just
that
like
be,
slam the door on it,
yeah,
right?
like if like as you're looking through all the branches of the lightning bolt, based on where you could not handle it anymore, that's where you stop it, or where you think you want to stop it because of
Hmm.
something you're perceiving could come from that point. So it's kind of like that with my anger. It's like, and I apologize if this is too weird. Um, yeah, it's the same thing. It's like I just know where to stop it,
Yeah.
like, and it just opens up a completely different version of me. Um, So with the anger, I feel like if I'm going to fully express it, I really need to double down on that developmental pathway of the lightning bolt,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. I have to really double down on it. And it's not hard to. It's actually pretty easy to do that, but like, yeah, it's very intentional. Um, it's just kind of like throughout that lightning bolts, there's like I have to stop it pretty early because if I evolve it too much, then I see too much, and I already feel sorry, and I already see ways in which I should not be angry because there's just so much to like so much vision
Hmm.
if I go too far down. But if I stop it early, I can be immature. I can be single decider if I need to, and not see the other side. And sometimes that's the right answer.
I feel like that's a
Sometimes,
little bit of your Enneagram type too. Like as you were explaining that, I was like, oh, I think this might also be some 8 stuff here.
yeah,
Because I
sometimes you need
feel,
to reject. Yeah.
because at first I was like, okay, he's able to stop it, and I was thinking, is that maybe the feminine and the feminine intuition? Because I'll try and stop it. I'll try and slam the door on it too, right? I'll try and stop that lightning bolt, but my intuition is like, nah, bitch, we're seeing this whole fucking thing, and we'll keep seeing it over and over and over again. And then too, because I'm a type 6, my emotions are messy, and I just react, and it's a very messy reaction. It's not the door slam or like the steel walls coming up for the 8. That's kind of how I picture an 8 pushing their boundaries or setting their boundaries, is just like a steel wall coming up. Whereas the type 6, I see it's a wall of barely controlled fire, barely controlled.
Hmm. Interesting. The steel walls, like, it would feel like the same as like, so I'm very good at perceiving how much energy I have. I'm also good at perceiving what is required to cause the transformation that is needed.
Hmm.
And I'm good at perceiving what puzzle piece you represent to kind of see where can I just click it like right there,
Yeah,
with the masculine TE. I kind of just like just stop like right there,
kind
and
of.
I
Yeah,
kind of I kind of like do that with my reaction. I kind of just try to sense for um like, okay, well, if I take control right now in this right instance based on, I guess it would be more the ST play that I'm kind of tracking. I know that if I do exactly this move, like if I say this exact thing for this exact reason, you'll feel obligated to follow that. Like it's just such a strong, like piercing, like sudden movement, if that makes sense. And that's kind of what I do with anger. It's a very like sudden, just like lightning, just hit. Like it's just,
yeah,
I'll just rip,
yeah.
because um, with feminine FI, like it's not that I can't experience anger. That's not true. I experience a lot of anger.
Same.
It's it's more that like I'm very serious about anger. It's not a joke. Like it's very like I said, like it's more focused on exact changes, exact specific requirements, So and as a demon, it just kind of rips like really quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Mine's still a barely contained wall of fire. That's that's how I feel anger, and then it just snuffs out. You just
Interesting.
smooth it over, just pour a bunch of sand on it, and now it's out. And I didn't realize
So
that this was traumatizing to people to switch your emotions that fast. Now I can see it in
All right.
retrospect, the looks of shock. I'm like, oh shit. Got it. That's why that happened.
Something I definitely want to understand is like, um, you have masculine sleep,
Mm.
and how does it look like when that hits externally?
When the masculine sleep gets external,
Yeah.
it's a very sudden boundary. Very sudden boundary. It's almost like it reminds me of what you said about the lightning strike, or like what I had said, the door slams.
Mm,
It just all of a sudden slams, and I'm like, conversation over. And then this actually recently just happened. Actually, I had somebody who was pushing on me, pushing on me, pushing on me, and I kept trying to smooth it over, and it wasn't working. And eventually, it just he struck the TI too much, and I was just like, "You're not listening to me. You're thinking too narrowly. This conversation is over." And I slammed the door. And less than 10 minutes later, I came back, and I was like, "So, what's your astrology sign?" Because that was a neutral topic.
interesting.
Yep. And then we kind of like, I think I used the neutral topic as a buffer, right? Because we did talk it out in between the astrology conversation.
Interesting. So I can see how that might be more like masculine sleep because it's sudden, and what it's serving is to protect you. Like it's
Mhm.
just this is my boundary. Bye.
Bye. Yep, exactly. I don't have to explain shit to you. Bye. That's what it feels like. And I also think too with the double masculine sleep, and I've heard this explained this way, maybe on the Discord. I can't really remember, but constantly running background program. So if I try and deliberately do the NT sleep and make sense of something, and the way that I see, because I'm visual, right? My sensory is feminine, so it's visual. The way I see it in my mind is I'm building or I'm attempting to build a multi-layered, deeply complex 3D model of a concept in my head that I can rotate and see from multiple sides and fully understand. And I have actually given myself headaches trying to deliberately do this and deliberately just hammer on it. And what I need to do is I need to put it down. I need to walk away from it. And within a couple of weeks, sometimes even a couple of months, I'll just get it. One day I'll be like, oh, like it was running in the background the whole time.
Right. I totally relate to that. My TE is very delayed. It's like a sudden like, oh, okay, well now we have a senior worker here. They know everything.
Yep.
Yeah. Huh.
And I think I
That's
definitely
something
have the
I
know it all
like.
energy too. I have the know it all
Interesting.
energy of like, I know what's happening here. It's like, you probably don't, but okay. I've got like, I feel like I have two people in my brain just talking to each other like that. Like, bitch, sit down, shut up. It's like, no, they need to know the answer. They need to know the truth.
I feel like that's a product of having SC and NI in a savior state as well. I definitely
I can see
relate to
that.
that. I'm seeing that being pretty significant. Like when you like, depending what your animal order is, kind of changes what you relate to, regardless of other things. Um, definitely see that because I've always had an issue with that. Like I almost feel like when I go into a state of doing play and asking questions, I feel like I'm lying. Like I do have the answer.
Mhm.
I could figure it out by myself. Um, I just feel like it's not appropriate to pretend you know something this quick because nobody will believe you
Yeah,
because we're savior SE. So it's like, no, we have to do sensory first. So we have to kind of ask questions first, that kind of thing.
I
Um,
kind of take it in two different ways. I feel like on a base level, I'm that exact same way. I need to be able to actually understand it, or like, I don't know. I feel like to really have a solid argument, I need to have the T, the T perfectly stacked and have all of the supporting SE, and like that's the best way. But at the same time, too, I also know that if you just say something really, really confidently, sometimes that's all it takes is just to say it really, really confidently, you know.
interesting. That in particular, I'm gonna dig on a little bit because I know people who use that. Like that's an actual leverage thing. Speaking confidently and stuff. I know that. I know people use that. I think for me with feminine sleep, when I'm speaking confidently, it's because I know that it's true, but I'm absolutely completely exploiting what I can with those points I know,
Yes.
or ST objective. I'm completely exploiting as much as I can because I only get so much of it with it being third. But um, how does that work? Like, can you kind of guide me a little bit through the process of like speaking confidently with masculine sleep?
Masculine sleep. Not really. I usually use it to convince people. It's funny because I usually use that example to convince people to not just listen to anything they hear and take it as truth. Because I'm like, I could tell you anything right now. I could tell you that dolphins evolved from sharks and I can prove it to you, and I'll just say it really, really confidently. Or I'll just make up an argument and I'll say it really confidently. And I'll get to a point, I feel like I drag it out to a point where they forget what I was originally talking about so that they believe me. And then I'm like, can you believe that? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, because that was all bullshit. Okay, so look it up on your own. Do your own research. Uh,
I will say that it felt It felt interesting, and you said it confidently, and it made me. And this is like a big lesson I've kind of learned over time. It's like people want to believe certain things.
yes, and that's where the feeling brain comes in.
I would imagine that FEs exploit that. Like they can exploit that.
I think we can. Yeah, I think we can. I think Effie is a massively overpowered function, and that's why the powers that be had to make us stupid because they had to balance that scale. That's why they put TI at the bottom. No, but I do think it's a massively overpowered function if you choose to use it that way, because I think we've seen examples of FE users using that way, and Hitler is one of them. Hitler was FESI, and just the disastrous consequences.
He was also core 8.
He was also, oh, he was core 8. I thought he was a 3. Oh
He's
my gosh.
core 8 wing 9 846 triple reactive
Oh, holy crap.
social suppress. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. No,
Wow.
the social thing.
Wow. That's clicking now. Now that I understand FE a little better, that's clicking like very
Yeah.
catastrophically because it's like triple reactive with FE. Like he's using it to cause big reactions
Yeah.
to get leverage as a social aid. Interesting.
But I also think that you can use it for very good as well. I think it can go both ways. I think any function is like that, though. I mean, I think any function can be used for good or evil, right? Because we all have that within us. But FE being that, again, every human being is emotionally based. To be able to move those emotions is like crazy overpowered.
How do you perceive masculine feelers? People that are like harder to move emotionally. Are there like FE thoughts that come to mind with how to deal with that?
Not really. I don't actually really think about that. I'm not sure if I know masculine feelers? How would you spot a masculine feeler? Is it resting bitch face? Because I feel like it's resting bitch face.
Well, I used to think I was one, so let me kind of process that for a second. The way I kind of experience masculine feelers, it kind of feels like um, it almost feels like they already know what's going to feel good. And they've kind of put like a dome top on top of it so that you don't like they're inside of the dome with that thing they think feels good, and there's a dome top on top. Um, and it's kind of like if you're trying to let me hold on one second. Okay, wait. I can't even see. How do I do this? Okay. I did not expect that to happen. Okay. Okay, there we go. It got too dark. I can't even see the to fix the problem. Okay, so yeah, it kind of feels like there's a dome top over them, and they've kind of like secured themselves with their baby, which is their, well, at least in this case, FI. It's I'm thinking, but with the FI or whatever that they think needs to be protected value wise, and it's a little harder to convince them to kind of flow differently. That's how I would describe it. It's harder to make them flow
Mhm.
differently, if that even makes sense.
No, that does make sense. I would say, I would say in general, those kinds of people, like if they're not willing to move, I'm feminine Effie. I don't. If you're not going to move, I'm not going to try and move you. Like that's just kind of like not worth it. If you're a pillar, I'm the water flowing around it. I'm not gonna, So I might be like, all right, I'm sorry you feel that way, and I walk away, or So that I think that's realistically what I would do is I would just not push. Um, uh, I would say theoretically though, um, this might be coming from FE and social type 4 and that 2 fix because I have that 2 fix, right? If I can become one of those valued things,
Hmm.
and now I'm in.
Hmm. So I guess to say, like, can you tell when someone's flowing with you on the feelings versus the thinking? Like, if you do have to find a way to enter those fixed values,
Mhm.
will you know that you're doing that?
Probably not. I don't think I would intentionally. I don't think I don't think the FE is so unintentional. It's I sneeze and I make a friend. Like I don't I don't know how I do it. No, I just don't know. I don't know if I would intentionally be doing that. I think I just kind of accidentally like, oh, I'm one of the valued things. Like, okay. I don't know.
Can you tell that I have feminine FI versus masculine FI? Just
I can tell
curious.
that you're masculine T.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. I wasn't even able to see that before until Shannon pointed it out. I thought that was masculine N. I had a completely wrong understanding of the whole
Oh.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's usual. That's part of the system. So you're definitely not the only one who did that. Definitely not. It's because we're
yeah.
seeing ourselves from the inside.
I mean, I always told people like I feel like my NF is feminine. Like I experience it like a watery, like sad, crying thing.
Um,
They're like, oh no, I think just the NF temperament's generally like that. I'm like, really? Like then what's the difference? Like, but
yeah.
yeah.
I knew the SF for me was double feminine because of the social chameleon thing. I'm like, that is what I'm doing. I know
Hmm,
that's what I'm doing.
interesting. Are there things that, oh my God, this is an FI question. I always forget that FEs do not think with this, but like, are there things you like about being a social chameleon?
About being a social, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm a social type 4. I mean, that's like I said, I sneeze and I make a friend. Being able to be a social chameleon and get along with literally anybody. Like if I have a flex, that's it. My flex is I can get along with anybody. Anybody.
Interesting. Interesting. So let's go into social four then. Um, all right. So with just kind of like masculine TE looking at this. So is that absolutely the only thing you've ever flexed? Is just being very capable of being friends with anybody?
I think that's the only thing that I can solidly stand on, yeah. Because all the other things in my specialized box, I'm really unconfident about. Like I know I'm better than I know I'm above average on those other things, and I mean like design work, artwork. I know I'm a good. I know I'm a fair artist. I know I'm a good writer. Um, but there's insecurities there. There's also insecurities there because those are things that can be criticized. Whereas becoming like, how are you going to criticize being friends with everybody? I don't
Hmm.
know. Why would you? I'm your friend, you know? But yeah,
Oh. Oh. Wait, that's huge. Wait a second. Okay. Okay, okay. So by being friendly with people and making friends, there's less of a need to flex because they already accept you and like you.
yeah, I would say. And if they don't, they don't, you know. But I don't really run into a lot of those situations. That feels so arrogant to say, but I don't.
Are there ever times that you get an urge to be challenged or to flex something that you've for a while been thinking that you've been good at doing?
Yeah, I think I've gotten to points where well, I don't know if that would be flex, but I have gotten to points where I'm just kind of like, no, listen to me. I know what's up.
Okay,
You know, I used
interesting.
to, when I was younger, I was a lot more fighty than I am now. Definitely a lot more um, pushing against people. And then I got a piece of advice that was basically pick and choose your battles. You got to think about, before you just start fighting somebody, you got to think about, where do I want this to go? What is the outcome that I want here? And if fighting them is not going to get me that outcome, don't do it. Just don't do it. And so that's when I really started to stop and think like, can I move this person? I don't think I can. So I'm not going to try.
Sounds like the NFST balanced to me. It's like look at the reality, like the ST reality, and then also understand where you're going,
Right.
and just respect the ST and remember your NF.
Yeah. I would say. Like, what's important to you here? Is being right important to you? Or is getting the damn thing done important to you? Or is, maintaining this relationship important to you? Like, what is the importance here? Um, is this a hill you're willing to die on?
Hmm, so interesting. And I'm sorry. Around what age did you learn that?
I think so. It was 2015, so I was 24.
Okay.
It was a very specific event, so I remember it very clearly. And then unfortunately, like, I started doing that, and it was so easy that now I'm in the position of, I see conflict happening, and instead of meeting it with like this chaotic fire, right? This chaotic, sick, messy, reactive fire, I get conflict anxiety, and I'm just smooth it over, smooth it over, smooth it over, smooth it over, like avoid it, and now I'm a pushover. Now I don't stand for anything.
Interesting. Very six. And also reminds me of like being at the gym and you realize, oh wait, I've trained too much of this muscle. Let me train this one.
Yeah,
And then you have to go back.
right. You're like, oh, I did my legs too much. Got to skip leg day, and then 12 skipped leg days later, you have no muscle mass in your legs anymore. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Like, I look
Things
back on
happen.
a younger Noelle, and there's so many ways that I'm like, she was so annoying. I hated her. Why was she like that? If I could go back in time, I'd probably punch myself in the face, like, honestly. But then there are some things I think about her, and I'm like, I wish I still had that. I wish I hadn't let go of that fire. And
Interesting.
I see that fire in my daughter, and I'm like, I want her to keep that fire. And it sucks that she's going to use that fire against me, but if I want her to keep it, I got to deal with it.
That is so interesting. I relate to that so hard. I've definitely done the switch the muscles thing with stuff like
Yep.
that. Uh, hmm. So, on your specialized savior, are you seeing that you are like very careful with trying to master like stuff that you do or are responsible for?
Absolutely, especially because of that TI, because my identity is in what I do, right? So if I don't do something to perfection, if I don't fully own the thing that I do, why am I here?
Mm,
Like, what is my purpose? You know, the FE is great, but it's not, it's something that I do for other people. Like, what do I do for myself?
mm,
So I definitely get that's where all of that perfectionism. I have crippling perfectionism, just horribly crippling perfectionism. That's been one of the main drivers, one of the top drivers for me throughout this entire growth journey, starting therapy. And my therapist was like, "Have you ever heard of the Enneagram?" And so I looked in the Enneagram and then found OPS, blah blah blah. And one of the main drivers is getting to the root of that fucking perfectionism that's just there in the way. And now I think I've pinpointed it. I think it's the TI. I think it's the TI plus specialized, but it's baby TI, it's unconfident TI, and I don't know how to work out that tool.
interesting. Hmm. So would you say that your specialized is kind of attracting more um, challenges for your TI?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, 100%.
interesting. And sometimes you're fine with that, and sometimes it kind of stresses you out, right?
I don't think I'm ever really fine with it. I have so much anxiety and turmoil on the inside. I have a lot of anxiety on the inside.
Hmm.
Nothing is
Um.
ever good enough. That's kind of how I view everything I do. It's never good enough.
Hmm.
This is why I also thought I was maybe consume over blast, because I resonated with that, like, you need to know more before you can start doing. And then I realized after I got typed as FE, I'm like, all the lessons about blast, it's all TE blast. It feels like everything that's been said about blast is TE blast, but FE blast doesn't work like that.
Can we kind of dive in there?
Sure.
Um. So, like, how would you describe the actual like FE blast?
The actual FE blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's controlling the vibe, and moving people's emotions. And it is very lessony. I can hear how I'm very lessony. I've been told more times than I can count, that I'd make a great teacher, that I'd make a great, specifically an elementary or preschool teacher, because of the way that I can so gently guide people through emotional states, or guide people through, especially with like the typology stuff. I'm like, oh, you're feeling this because, okay, so here's the theory and blah blah blah. I might guide people through that, if that makes any sense.
Hmm.
But it is very much controlling that emotional atmosphere. It's controlling emotional atmosphere and moving people's emotions. It's not, it is a little bit getting started on stuff, or it's not, I'm trying to explain. I'm sorry. I just totally got lost. I have that impulse to want to get started on things right away when I don't even really know enough about it. But then that baby TI feels like slamming on the brakes all of a sudden. It feels like I'm slamming on the brakes and the gas at the same time, right? Like I want to get started on it and get going and start using this information right now. But my baby TI is like, you don't know enough about it.
Interesting. I want to kind of zoom in on don't know enough about it. Like, can you expand more on the instance when that occurs? Like when you say that, like what's usually happening? What exactly does that mean when you say that?
I need to completely understand something from the ground up. it needs to make sense to me for me to even begin to start explaining it. Or else I'm just saying words, and I'm not even convincing myself. And like, I do have an example, but it's kind of unrelated, but kind of is related. I don't know. I used to work. I used to work for a large format printing company. I printed scientific posters, right? And sometimes the posters would get laminated, so they would go to the finishing department. And then I had this little work order sheet where I had to fill out the instructions for the finishers to know how to finish it. And if it was laminated, there were two different size trims that I had to choose from, whatever the customer wanted. So you either got an 1/8 inch trim, which was just an 1/8 inch border. They cut the laminate material an 1/8 inch from the edge of your poster, or there was no trim, which means they cut the laminate right to the edge of the poster, right? And for some reason, I don't know, I don't remember how this was explained to me, but I was not getting it. And I kept forgetting to fill out the trim information. And so one day, one of the finishers who I had become friends with, he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know you forgot to fill out the trim again." And I was like, "Oh my God, okay. Can you tell me, can you come and get me the next time you laminate a poster? Because I want to see how you do it. I need to see it, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, totally." So the next time he did it, he came and got me. He told me this is an 1/8 inch edge. I watched him cut it and it clicked. I was like, "I got it. I know why." And I never forgot to fill out that section from there on.
Oh my God.
I
So
needed
the
to
same as
understand
me.
literally exactly what that meant. You couldn't just tell me to do it. You can't, I need to understand why I'm doing it.
That's exactly like me.
I wonder if it's just a demon thinking thing then. To need to like, because it's demon, so you feel unconfident about it. So you need to make sure that you do understand what you're doing before you can do it. I don't know.
I think part of it is Demon NT. Like explaining is just very NT in general.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
very like it's not physical, it's just purely mentally
very cerebral.
um yeah, like just mentally traveling there, like almost like psychically moving through the work before it even happens, like knowing how to psychically get there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely feel that.
Hmm.
Being able to kind of like cerebrally lay out those steps in your head before you start. And that's so funny too, because I feel like I spin my wheels doing that. I just put another post that I just posted in the FB group was that story of mine where like the way I design can often feel like I'm trying to lay down the elements. I should already know the perfect design and lay down the elements, the first time and get it out the first time. And I will spin my wheels trying to cerebrally figure out how to do this before I bring it into reality. And a former supervisor of mine at my magazine job, she taught me a very, what seems to me now, a TE technique of just put everything on the canvas, put it roughly where you need to be, then to start the design process. And I hated that technique. It felt wrong. It felt unnatural. I did it and it worked fucking brilliantly. And I was so mad that it worked so well. I was so mad. And now even today, 10 years later, I'll like spin my wheels on a design trying to do that perfect demon NT, like get it together in my head before I start doing it. And I can't. I'm spinning my wheels on it, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta do the fucking TE thing. I just gotta do the fucking TE thing. Grit my teeth, trust the process.
Interesting. I mean, I definitely need to watch somebody do something sometimes,
Yeah.
quite often actually. Like sometimes my blockage is just that like I and this is just something I've come to understand about people that have Demon NT. This is how we do it. It's like when I build a theory, it's because my body has experienced it. I know
Yeah.
this works this way because I've literally lived through it.
Yeah.
So it's like, let me watch you live through it, and let me watch you do
Yeah.
like live through the theory you're telling me to psychically know, because I probably would not even have lived through that. Like I wouldn't have figured that out by myself.
Yeah, oh, that's so funny because I was playing with the idea that maybe that's an FE thing that I don't need to experience something personally. I can learn from other people watching them do it. But that
Hmm.
makes sense being a demon NT thing. Yeah, that actually makes
And
a lot of sense.
this is what I'm saying. It's like we're so similar, but so like
Right?
slightly different. Like,
It's oh so slight. I know, it's oh so slight.
yeah, like the biggest difference is EJ versus EP and introvert versus extrovert. But like besides that, like there's a lot of lining up as well.
Yeah. I think the SE has a lot to do with it too. I think we can that's our common coin and
Yeah.
it can, so being having to watch somebody do it, I mean, you're gathering that information through your five senses. That's SE. I
We also both have six wing, seven fix. You're social self pres, right?
am.
So
I
that's
am.
super similar to. Hmm, interesting. All right.
And I knew I was social dom before I got type two. I was like, that's got to be it. I just got to figure out where the other pieces. And I knew I had a nine fix and I knew I had a six fix, but I had them backwards at the beginning. And it was so funny is that image fix, which for me is last, and the last fix is supposed to just kind of cast a general vibe over the first two fixes, right? That's the theory. Um, but I guess my two fix is so strong. I had several people think that I was a two. Actually, my therapist who introduced me to the Enneagram thought I was a two.
Hmm,
But that was the one I really didn't want to look at. That was the one that I was really, really denying from the beginning. I was
hmm.
like, I got to be a three or a four, not two. And then I got the results back, and I was like, fuck. But also, that makes sense. Shit.
Hmm, interesting. Very interesting. I lost what I was thinking.
Oh, sorry.
Does that happen with you with
Constantly. My God. I'll lose my train of thought mid sentence. I'll forget what I was talking about as I'm actively talking about it.
Huh, interesting. The only thing that helped me personally was the carnivore diet, keto slash carnivore, because for me it was brain fog that was causing it.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh my God. Yeah.
so
I
made
have
a
ADHD.
huge difference.
I'm sleep last. I have a sleep
Yeah.
disorder. And then I had a baby and like, mom brain, that's brain fog. So I just had brain fog times three. It's amazing my daughter survived this long. Like I don't know if I was even present for the first 6 months she was here,
Hmm.
but I also weirdly was.
Interesting.
I was so
I
foggy
also.
about the surrounding environment. She was the only thing that existed for 6 months.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, those animalistic instincts, and I wonder if it's because of the SF. I don't know. I'm gonna make a weird theory here and say it's because I'm savior SF that I'm already tapped into the animalistic instinct. But yeah, like I know not every parent has those immediate parental instincts, but my fucking god, did I! And I had postpartum anxiety on top of it. So
Wow.
yeah, it was intense. I feel like I was thinking about this the other day too. I'm like, did I maybe in those early months with that postpartum anxiety and all those raging hormones, right? I feel like maybe I got a taste of FI because I felt I was in the I was in the drive-through of Dunkin' Donuts and my husband was home with the baby. I was getting us coffee and I just started thinking about how much I loved her to the point where I was so overwhelmed with emotion. I started crying and then I freaked myself out because I had never felt something that intense and deep before. And I'm like, is that what FI feels all the time? Like, holy shit. What is that?
I mean, the way you're describing it sounds so much like my feminine FI.
Deep. Like, oh my, it scared me. Like I said, it fucking scared me because I'm used to like surface level, like just gonna scoot and move on from it.
I guess, at least for me, it would feel like imagine that you just kind of like put your face into a big body of water and you just sniffed in all the water and you just put it all the way in.
Yeah,
It's like that. Like it's like a big amount of
that's what
feeling.
my anger feels like.
Interesting.
I think the anger is all you would think anger feeling, right? I feel like anger is more related to the logic, more to the thinking function. And also Dave said, there's a lot of anger with masculine TI,
Hmm.
demon masculine TI.
Hmm. Interesting.
That like floods. It's a flood.
So, what type of emotion? Okay, so there's a lot of anger that's attached to demon masculine TI.
That's what he said, yeah. Or like when I have to tap that masculine TI, he said there's always going to be a lot of anger and aggression when I need to go down to the TI.
Hmm. Because usually thinking is not associated with having an emotional state. Like a lot of
Yeah,
savior masculine TEs, they're
that's
like, "Oh,
true.
you guys think I'm angry when I'm telling you what to do," and it's just logical.
Yeah,
But then it's like,
maybe
"Oh,
that's
well,
remitting.
that's not how it feels for demon masculine thinking." It feels more like it feels, at least for me, it feels like chewing food. It's like imagine you want to like really chew it.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, well, this is what you do. Like, you just have to fucking chew the food. Like, that's
Yeah,
how it feels for me. I don't know if it's the same for your masculinity.
the masculine T is it's very anxious. It's very angry. It's very like if you interrupt me and I'm trying to do the TI, oh my God, I get so angry. I'm like, because it's hard. It's hard for me to do. And I feel like I need to completely understand it inside and out. Just I don't even know why. Like it sounds irrational now that I'm like thinking about it. Why do I need to know something from the inside out? But I do. I feel like I need to understand every step of it and how every step affects the step before and the step after and 5 steps after. Like I need to know. I need to be able to predict that. And that's
Yeah,
maybe it's also because I have masculine NI as well. Like it's masculine NI and masculine TI. I need to fully understand
interesting.
the concept.
Hmm. Yeah. That's why it kind of reminds me of that chewing thing. It's like imagine you
Yeah.
put food in an animal's mouth, like it's just gonna chew it. Like it's like you have like this compulsion to completely um, digest through it with the masculine sleep.
Yeah. Oh, I think I said it earlier that I remember things that make sense to me. So maybe, yeah, it's so I remember how to do it again, or if anybody asks me about it, I'm not gonna, if I didn't understand it, I'm not gonna be able to tell you.
Let me ask you a little bit about memory. So,
Hmm.
when you are remembering something, do you remember the sensory of why it makes sense? Like, oh, well, maybe this person said like this molecule connects with this receptor, that kind of thing, like some exact mechanism.
It
And
depends on what
this,
it is. I do have a very visual memory. So, like from my childhood, my memories are a lot of snapshots and maybe like short audio clips, like very short audio clips. Um, The sensory mostly, I don't remember until I start talking about it, and then all of a sudden I'm saying all these sensory details. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that I remembered that. And I wonder if it's like the FE, how you have to externalize it to be able to know what it is. I wonder if feminine SE is a lot like that. You got to externalize it to know what it is. But anyways, I just went off on a side quest there. Sorry about that. But my memory, for like information or just like conceptual things, I'll remember that model that I built in my head. If I built that model well, I'll remember it.
hmm, interesting. Okay. Wow, that's like a true conceptual memory.
I remember patterns too. Unfortunately, I'm the first to admit I'm an abuser of the phrases "you always" and "you never." you know. because I remember the pattern of it, but I don't know the specific sensory. I can't say like you did this 5 times in the past 4 months. It's like no, it's you have a pattern of it.
Interesting. Okay. Hmm. So occasionally, I'm just guessing, like occasionally you have like the random sensory memory, but it's mostly conceptual. Would that
Mostly
be true?
conceptual.
Okay.
Mostly conceptual. Mostly patterns. Like
Hmm.
from my childhood. Like I said, I don't remember much of my childhood. I don't. But I remember generally that my mom had depression, that she was emotionally checked out a lot of the time, that I was alone a lot, that my brother wasn't really there. You know, I remember having 10 people live in the house, and then 3 people, and then 6 people, and then so I remember like the roundabout of people coming in and out of the house. But I don't really remember. I remember certain weird. I remember weird specific moments that I just kind of like fully tapped in and intentionally took in what was happening
Hmm.
and processed it. I guess if I process the sensory, I'll remember it. If I don't process the sensory, there's no chance.
Hmm. Interesting. It's also slightly like an infodom version of that, like infodom with masculine NT memory,
Hmm.
kind of. 'Cause there is some numbers and stuff there, like exact information as well. Hmm.
Yeah, definitely if it's logged into the TI, because something my friends tell me a lot is, oh, but you remember so many like interesting facts and things that you research. They tell me they'll take me to like a Titanic show, and I know more than the tour guide does. Like I'm telling the information before the tour guide says the information. Because I've logged that into my TI. That's one of my special little interests that I've done a lot of research on and simulated and thought about from the inside out.
Interesting. Hmm. So, is there like an emotion that comes with when your TI is recognized and like people acknowledge that you're really, really smart in those things that you've TI'd?
Yeah, imposter syndrome.
Hmm.
That's the emotion that I get, imposter syndrome. I feel the sudden need to be like, oh well, I don't know that. I haven't done that much. Like to kind of negate myself.
Hmm.
I wonder if it's also demon flex. Like you've touched upon something that I could flex on, so now I'm gonna vehemently not flex on it. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Hmm.
I know it's kind of a contradictory too. Wanting to be recognized for what I do and what I know, because that's my identity. But every time that happens, it's no, 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 no.
Hmm.
I don't
And
want to.
is there
Oh, go
ever
ahead.
a swing?
What's that?
Is there ever a swing? Like a swing where you feel very confident?
Oh, no. Well, if I've done something multiple times. Um, and a time that I felt really, really confident. Whew, I don't have very high confidence to begin with. Um, there are certainly things that I've known that made sense to me, or I don't know. There's things that I've known that other people will be like, no, 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 that's wrong, and I stick to my guns. And one of those situations has been every single time my daughter has been sick. I know she's sick, and I know the severity of it. And I'll be like, we need to go to the ER. My husband will be like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, stop reading Google. You're freaking yourself out. Or I was like, we're going to the ER, and I won't let it go, and then it'll actually turn out to be exactly what I thought it was. And that has happened, I think, all but once.
Hmm.
Like I know, I just know.
Hmm. Interesting.
But other than that, I can't really think of a lot of stuff that I feel very confident about.
Hmm.
Because I'm also a sixth,
Interesting.
right? So I'm always second guessing
Yeah.
myself. I'm always questioning myself. is the truth really that truthy? I don't know.
I mean, six has like a line to three. Not to make this an Enneagram interview, but like line to three from six is like, I guess, after all of the work that you've done to kind of prove certain things, you get recognized, and you have to go through like a three phase where like you're kind of famous for it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
To be well known for something. I think I'm well known for being friendly. I think I'm well known for being the nice one. I think that's what I'm well known for. I think my line to three comes out in teamwork situations where we all have that vibe of like, let's get this done, let's do a good job. And then I'm like, I take a lot of pride in my work for sure. Whenever I think I have a kind of a work ethic phrase where it's like, whatever you do, be proud of what you do.
Hmm.
So like I got like weirdly dictatory when I was working at Longhorn as a hostess. Like this is what we gotta do, guys. We gotta keep it clean, gotta keep it tight. I don't know.
That's funny. All right. Well, I feel like we've kind of covered most bases.
Hmm.
If you have anything else in mind, definitely. Or if people are watching, say something.
Oh, do I
I'm
want to
looking
say
at the
something about my
comments.
type?
Yeah, just like anything else we haven't covered, or like anything you like want to say in general.
I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything. I would say, oh man, I don't know. I don't really know. I think when it comes to knowing the absolute truth, I don't think we're meant to, because I think we are not. I don't think we would be able to handle the truth.
Mm.
Our brains as human beings, we're programmed to have to make sense of things, and I think the truth is fundamentally, you know, I think it's fundamentally something that you can't make meaning of. We would break as human beings.
Oh, that's actually very powerful. Mm. Hmm. Anything else? I
That's
like
all
this.
I have.
All right. Hmm. All right. I'm gonna save that. I love that. That's really deep stuff. All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me on.
I love this interview. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no
All right.
worries.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.